Have you ever felt like your world has shifted? Like the ground beneath you is no longer what it used to be? Maybe your children have grown up and moved away, leaving you in a quiet home filled with memories. Perhaps you're at a point in life where things seem still, and you're questioning what's next. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. This is the story of Clara and Hans, a couple from a quiet town in Germany, who, after raising two wonderful children, found themselves facing a new chapter in life. Their children, Michael and Sophie, both moved far away, Michael to New York and Sophie to Berlin, to pursue their dreams. For Clara and Hans, this left a quiet home, a place that once echoed with laughter and love. At first, it was hard to admit how lonely they felt. The house, which had been full of life, seemed empty now. Clara would sit by the window, gazing out at the street where their children had once played, feeling the weight of silence. Hans, too, struggled. The garden they had built together over the years, once a vibrant space full of flowers and vegetables, had become neglected. The joy they had once found in these small things now seemed lost. But time passed, and Clara and Hans realized something. The emptiness they felt wasn't just about missing their children. It was about a deeper feeling, one that whispered that their lives might be incomplete. For years, their purpose had been to raise their children, to care for them, to guide them through life. But now that their children were living their own lives, Clara and Hans found themselves questioning, what is our purpose now? One evening, as they sat in the living room, Clara turned to Hans and asked the question that had been lingering in her mind for some time. Do you think our purpose was just to raise our children? Hans didn't answer right away. He sat back in his chair, staring out the window, lost in thought. It was a good question, one that he hadn't considered. All these years, they had given everything they had to their children. Their time, their love, their energy. Everything had been about raising Michael and Sophie. But now they were gone. Now what? After a long pause, Hans spoke softly. I don't know, but I do know that it feels like there should be more for us. It's like we've lost something that we built our whole lives around. Clara nodded. I feel it too, but maybe it's not just about them. Maybe we have to find something for us, something that fills us again. And so, the journey of rediscovery began. One day, while cleaning the attic, Clara stumbled upon an old painting kit. It had been tucked away in a corner, gathering dust for years. Clara had once loved painting. Before motherhood, before the daily hustle of life, she had spent hours creating. But as time passed, painting had faded into the background. There had always been something else to do, someone else to care for. But now, with the house quiet, she felt a stirring in her heart. She dusted off the kit, set up an easel by the window, and began to paint again. The first few strokes felt awkward. It had been years, and her hands weren't as steady as they used to be. But soon, the rhythm returned. The colors came to life on the canvas, and Clara felt something shift inside her. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly alive. She painted for hours that day, losing track of time. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden light through the window, and Clara stepped back to admire her work. The painting wasn't perfect, but it didn't matter. What mattered was the feeling it brought her. She had rediscovered a part of herself that had been buried for years. Hans noticed the change in Clara. He saw the joy in her eyes, the spark that had been missing. And it didn't take long before he decided to rediscover something he loved as well. Hans had always been passionate about gardening. The garden had once been his pride and joy. But over time, as life had become busier, the garden had been neglected. Weeds had grown unchecked, and flowers had wilted without care. But now, Hans decided it was time to bring the garden back to life. He spent hours in the yard, pulling weeds, planting new flowers, and caring for the space they had created together. Slowly, the garden began to bloom again, just as Clara's painting had brought her joy. The garden became a symbol of their renewed purpose. a reminder that they too could bloom again. As the days passed, Clara and Hans found themselves reconnecting with their passions and with each other. They spent time in the garden, enjoying the beauty they had created together. Clara continued to paint, filling their home with vibrant colors and joy. Hans shared his knowledge of gardening with their neighbors, teaching children how to plant seeds and care for their gardens. But it wasn't just about finding joy in their hobbies. Clara and Hans knew they needed to find a way to stay connected with Michael and Sophie, who were now living far away. So they took the plunge into technology. They learned to use video calls, messaging apps, and social media. At first, it was a bit intimidating, but soon they found themselves looking forward to the calls with their children, hearing about their lives, seeing their faces on the screen. The distance between them didn't feel so wide anymore. Michael and Sophie may have been far away, but they were always just a call away. The bond between them remained strong, despite the physical distance. And for Clara and Hans, this new way of connecting became a lifeline. They could still share their lives, share their joys, and share their love with their children, even if they couldn't be in the same room. One evening, as they sat on their porch, surrounded by the beauty of their garden, Clara smiled at Hans. Their phone was open, and they were speaking with Sophie, who was studying in Berlin. Michael was on the other end, sitting in his apartment in New York. The three of them laughed and reminisced about old times. Clara looked at Hans and said, "I used to think our purpose was just to raise you, but now I see. Our purpose is to live fully, no matter where you are. We are still part of your lives, but we must also continue to live our own lives. For ourselves." Michael smiled through the screen. "Mom, I'm so proud of you. You're showing me how to live with purpose, no matter where I am." Sophie nodded. "And you're teaching me to keep going, to live my life with joy, even when things change." As Clara and Hans looked at their children's faces on the screen, they realized something important. Life doesn't stop when your children leave. It's just a new chapter, and that chapter can be full of possibilities. They didn't have to wait for their children to come back to feel complete. They could continue to grow, to learn, and to live with purpose, no matter how far apart they were. In fact, their children's success and happiness only fueled their own. Over time, Clara began to sell her paintings at local galleries. Her work was recognized by more and more people, and her confidence grew with every new piece she created. Hans, too, found fulfillment in his garden. He shared his knowledge with others, teaching children in the neighborhood how to grow their own vegetables, how to appreciate the beauty of nature. And through it all, they stayed connected to their children. They had learned that distance wasn't something to fear, it was something to embrace. Their bond wasn't defined by proximity, but by love, communication, and the willingness to continue living, no matter where life took them. Clara and Hans proved that it's never too late to find new purpose. No matter where you are in life, no matter what stage you're at, there's always something to discover, something to give. Call to action. If you've found this story inspiring, take a moment to reflect on your own life. What are you waiting for? The next chapter is yours to write. Don't let age or distance hold you back. Reach out, rediscover your passions, and live your life with purpose. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift. And feel free to leave a comment below. What new chapter are you ready to start? We'd love to hear your story.